to
It's a miracle.
America. Without help.
All right,
Okay,
so did you want to adjust where this is?
no,
Are you okay?
well, I'm fine, I'm perfect, I'm okay.
Okay, all right, all right.
Good morning. You've all heard the theme, the word food desert. And there are political connotations, there are humanitarian connotations. And when I hear a word that has different dimensions, I tend to go into the facts. Figure it out. Is it this a political statement or is this whatever? So I said, if there are food deserts, there must be food deserts near where I live. And so I went to look. And yes, they are real. There are food deserts within 10 minutes drive from here. I looked at the causes. I went to the City Hall, St. Louis, went to the county, went to different elements, went to ownership structures. There are different causes for food deserts. And you say, can we solve it? Can high-tech help us? Like so many things we get promised that high-tech will solve. It's just a way of postponing key decisions. I'll come up with a proposal of a passive solar greenhouse that already has been built on 5 million acres in China. And there actually is a committed team of people today working on solving the problem, at least for St. Louis, as a test of what can be done elsewhere. What is the status? It's very dynamic. Here we go. The reality of food deserts. You take East St. Louis, and then you look where are supermarkets. It is amazing. It is a full circle with nothing in between. The scale of that here is 5 miles. So there is 10 miles here of not a single decent supermarket where you can buy fresh fruit and vegetables. It just ain't there. If you want food here, the best you can do is go to the gas station. That's the reality. You can look at places like Wellston, Pagedale, so North St. Louis County, and then again, where are the supermarkets? The Aldi on Kings Highway is out of there, and there's a Quick Trip here. So you can drive from the Central West End to nearly Umsel and not find a single decent supermarket to buy quality fruit and vegetables. That's the reality of urban food deserts. Let's look at the consequences. Compare a food desert with people that live in a more privileged environment. So where I live in the Central West End, within 1 mile, I have a Whole Foods, a Schnucks, a Straub's, and an Aldi. You remember here, this is 5 miles. So in my area of the world, within that distance, I have four supermarkets that I can walk to. You compare East St. Louis with a population of 26,500. To the city of Creve Coeur with a population of 18,500. And you take what I call the Olive Corridor. And the Olive Corridor starts from Lindbergh and goes to Woods Mill. And on that Olive Corridor, you have a Schnucks, a Dieburg, a Trader Joe, a Dieburg, a Schnucks, an Asian Markets, and a Dieburg. Again, 7 miles compared to the 5 miles here. So whether you call it whatever name you give it, what used to be called food desert, and now are associated with all the different politically more acceptable names, they're real. And they're not far from here. One of the fundamental causes of that is that in the area of St. Louis and the older St. Louis County, the fragmented land ownership. We've broken up the lands. We've taken 150 years to break up the prairie into little square patches, which then means that in this area, between the Board of Education and a church and an equity trust fund that obviously acquired a house that couldn't be paid for, or in this area, you have LRA, that means the city of St. Louis. The city of St. Louis owns 12,000 of these little patches. Problem is, these patches are all over, and they might be interrupted by a school board, a church, an equity trust fund. They may be another bank and a speculator. Paul McKee. Paul McKee owns several hundreds of these lots. That they're strategically located so as to prevent assembling bigger chunks of land. Paul McKee asks for his piece of land $7 per square foot, whereas the city, for their pieces of land, asks $2 per square foot. So as long as Paul McKee holds his legs stiff, you cannot reassemble those abandoned lots and repurpose them for a new useful use, be it a hairdresser, be it a greenhouse to grow vegetables, being at the parking lot, whatever. The only thing where that system was broken was when this huge chunk of land was acquired as a space to build the National Geospatial Agency. National Geospatial Agency is basically the map makers of the military. Every square foot in the world sits in their database. And the NGA has 3 locations, 2 are known, 1 is somewhere, maybe you know. But essentially, they are at the base of everything we know, every location in the world. Pardon? I can do that. Another cause is what I call the spoiled nest. And here is a big area next to Metrolink. So you could say, why don't you build greenhouses or something there? So this is an aerial picture of the county of Missouri and the county of St. Louis in their database, taken off the 10th of whatever, to October 30, 2021. Okay? That same piece of land here, you find in their databases in 1937. So, who on earth done what kind of crap in 1937 that in 2021 there's still not a single plant growing on there? So can we use this piece of land to grow food? Heck no. The spoiled nest. There was a metalworking factory and there were electricity equipment factories here. If you look at the current map of the St. Louis County, you see that where those factories were, today that land is still under surveillance. That land still has use limitations. That land still has different locations where groundwater is checked. Can you grow food on there? The person in the St. Louis County responsible for repurposing old pieces of land calls this a hairy issue. So there's dozens of acres there. Maybe you can put a parking lot on it, maybe not. But the location would be perfect, isn't it? Next to Metrolink. So you could have, if you could build a greenhouse here, you could, people literally take Metrolink to go and do their shopping for fruit and vegetables. But no, you can't, because before the Second World War, there was a factory here for electrical equipment, so there is a lot of cadmium. There's a lot of that stuff in the ground. Okay, is high-tech glass houses a solution? Yes, if you have $400,000 to $500,000 for 10,000 square foot solution, and have a lot of money for heating and cooling. And so, yes, some of them work, like in Japan, Korea, Middle East, all in Canada, Israel. But you see the kind of technology you need to use. Another option is what they call vertical farms. You all have heard about the vertical farms, right? Vertical farms cost an average about $4 million for sufficient scale. They focus on leafy veggies, that's all, no carrots, no, just leafy veggies, small leafy veggies, high operating cost. And yeah, they work in Japan and in some US cities. But let's put it this way. So there are other high-tech solutions, I'll spare that to you, but remember one thing, that's this one. If you want to build, if you want to grow any plant indoors, you need about 10 watt of an LED light per square foot. Now, you know how efficient LED lights can be, right? Imagine 10 watt LED per square foot, a foot above the plant. That's what you need to be realistic. So hoping that LEDs will solve the problem, I say keep hoping and keep praying and be patient. Another element is, so those what they call high-tech urban farms, they may be located in urban areas, but they do not freeze vegetables too economically to urban inhabitants. And so they don't solve the problem of food deserts. It is not because you have a lettuce that comes out of those greenhouses and that lettuce gets shipped to the Trader Joe or the Whole Foods where you and I theoretically could buy it, that we have solved the problem of the food desert in the places where people don't have access to food. The financials to make this work are being made by targeting affluent consumers, $3.99 for a Boston lettuce in a plastic tub. Cutting out the middleman, go directly from the greenhouse to the sales location, no intermediate warehouse. This intermediation means less people to do the work. So you take away work from people that would need an income. And you always need additional funding through educational services or charitable and conviction contributions. There is not a single urban farm today that is technically commercially viable.
What is a conviction contribution?
So religion is one thing. You might have other conviction. And based on those other convictions, you're willing to pay money. Conviction, anti-vaxxer is a conviction. Sometimes it looks like religion, but it is a conviction. So, okay. What is a low-tech passive solar house? It's like a greenhouse, but on the north side, and so on the north side, this is north, there is a wall. And that wall is like a heat or a cool sink. And the thing is designed in such a way that this roof is angled, that on December 21, the sun can get under it. So that the whole winter long, during the day, the sun can heat up the wall, so that the wall at night can radiate out the heat. At the same time, this wall has to be long enough that in summer, when the sun is higher, this wall gives shade. This roof gives shade to this wall so that the wall stays cooler and at night radiates out. That's the fundamental concept. The Chinese built 5 million acres of that stuff. Every city in China is surrounded by acres and acres and acres of this. Most of these in China, so 360 feet by 36, so about 10,000 square foot, can feed a family commercially. A whole family can live off one of those. That is a lower level of purchase power than we have. We would need more than one to have a comfortable life. But anyhow, it's there. So what are the concepts? How does it look? You can go old-fashioned, you can go modern, you can irrigate it, you can do hydroponics in there, you can go very broad scale, like in Xinjiang, and you can even turn part of it into a classroom. Once you have that temperature-controlled shell, without the need of massive amounts of energy, you can put into there whatever you want, and you can indeed grow vegetables and fruit. Here is an example, Jandy Dong in Calgary, Canada. He used to work in the oil patch in Alberta as an engineer. And so during one of the down cycles in the oil patch, he lost his job and he decided to build this. And so this is how it looks. Double shell, because he's in Calgary. It's cold in Calgary. And so if you look at the graph here, this is the outside temperature. This is the temperature in his greenhouse. And it's only when the temperature goes to -25 centigrade, which means -25, -20 Fahrenheit, that he goes below zero. So he has about a 20 degrees centigrade, 40 degrees Fahrenheit temperature buffer, thanks to the combination of his wall and the double. And he has very modern. He has cut out all the intermediates because he uses WeChat. And he has about 250 families. And on Tuesday or Wednesday, he sends out, hey, I have so many cases of tomatoes, so many cases of this, so many cases of that. We'll meet at the Walmart on that street. At that time, he loads up his truck, pickup truck, and people arrive there, their name, they swipe, pick up their box and go home. So he has not only used a very ancient Chinese technology to grow the food, but he uses the most modern, advanced capabilities of information technology to reduce the cost of getting it to the consumer. An idea. So this is what could be done in St. Louis. So you could go full ground tomatoes. You plant them in January, grow them in March, and as of mid-April, you sell your full-grown tomatoes till October. You can do the winter greens. You can do tabletop strawberries. My dream is that in the second season of this greenhouse, on Valentine's Day, I take a tub of strawberries and bring it to Mayor Jones and say, these are homegrown strawberries from here. You can do that. They do it in Belgium. They do it at home. Why couldn't we do it here? You can sell bell peppers. And then, yes, you can do fast cycle hydroponics. You can do those small leaf vegetables, the little vegetables, the little lettuces, etc. You can do that too. And you can cycle every 40 days, you can cycle a crop. So we have a number of committed teams working on this. Yield Lab Institute, a team at UMSL, Danforth Center, University of Illinois Extension, Missouri Department of Economic Development, St. Louis Partnership, City of St. Louis, the county, Lambert St. Louis Airport, the Jackie Joyner Kersee Foundation in East St. Louis, the Urban League of 8 Greater St. Louis, and Central Port. Central Port, you know, is the biggest inland port in the world. And it takes the Illinois River, Mississippi River, Missouri River, and all those things, the grain elevators, all that work, coal, all these things, is Central Port. It's one organization. It's based in Granite City, Illinois. You didn't know that, didn't you? Well, good. There's some committed individuals. You may not know Gene Giacomelli, but you do know Pat Raven. There's some people at National Lab in Beijing that help us. The Honorary Consul of Canada in St. Louis is helping us. So that has changed, Amy. So at the time I wrote this version, we had 2 potential locations. identify that technically and commercially could work. One is in Berkeley, on the grounds of the old Berkeley High School that was closed once the airport expanded. Do you remember that? This is the taxiway of the airport. There's a piece of land here. Then there's a piece of land here, which is just north of the main location of the Jackie Joyner Kersee Foundation. And so it will happen to be that the police headquarters of East St. Louis Police will move to this location. So we feel pretty comfortable that this is a safe location. So now, there are two more locations we're working on. One is at UMSL, a piece of land that they never really developed, and they are interested in working with us on flattening it, making it available for us, and we could put possibly 4 greenhouses on that. And then another one we're working on is in Wildwood. Is a location where a couple of greenhouses and a big piece of open land are available. We would take over the existing business and build the new greenhouses on the available piece of land. So we would have had more information about the progress of these things if meetings had not been postponed because of the bad weather. So we would have had to have a meeting about UMSL last Friday, is postponed to March. The people that do the assessment of the value of this piece of land in the airport say, no, not in February, we'll get the data in March, etc. And so, thank you. Yes, question.
I want to know how money is involved.
Money?
Is it that I build the greenhouse and you need food, you may just come? Or I will build a greenhouse and the food is going to cost this much money?
Okay. Well, money is involved. First, so there is a small group of people, 4 individuals, that actually have put down cash. And there is an LLC that pays for lawyers, incorporation, for studies, for designs. So the first step is to find the appropriate piece of land. Once we found the appropriate piece of land, we will offer shares in that LLC to the public. And so we think we can get it done. We think we can get some grants, but that's then the hard part, get them on. Once we start building, it will take about 6 months for everything to be ready. And then 3-4 months later, we start selling. We want to sell the vegetables. We talk about vegetables at market price. That depends on the quality. So if you have super duper big tomatoes, they might be more expensive than the more crunchy one. We also want to maintain a certain volume of our production to go for charitable destinations. So if we can sell between 80 and 90% of our production at market prices, the rest we can give away to food banks, to others. What would be the main customers? So then again, the high-end customers would be restaurants that can claim locally grown, if we have the case, if we have the quality. Would be hospitals would be food catering institutions for school, for hospitals, for different things. And then we do hope that indeed we're working on that the Schnuckses, the Dierbergs, the Whole Foods will take us as an alternative to Gotham or a supplement to Gotham Greens and Iro Green, etc. So we plan, instead of putting things on a truck and drive 3 days from California to St. Louis, we would put things in a little van and deliver them the hour, 2 hours after the vegetables were harvested. So we would cut out all that distance. It would be fresher. That means that we would keep higher quality levels. And then again, yeah, this is not designed to be a charitable organization. This is designed to be self-sustaining. If hundreds of thousands of Chinese families can live off this concept, us well-educated Americans must be able to design it in such a way that it can pay for itself and that we break out of, well, the good-willing people that help but do not have the scale to build. We talk about 40,000 square foot. That's what we want to build. And so we know that at 40,000 square foot, we will be profitable. And once that concept is proven, then we want to go elsewhere, other cities.
But how does that help the food desert issue?
The food desert issue, instead of being dependent on a food chain that takes 3 days in a big truck, you do now your logistics from a local situation. So let's take, okay, this would be bang smack in the middle of the food desert.
And those people would have access to buying.
There is here, there is a Metrolink line. There's a Metrolink station. There is a bus stop here. There is the logistics to bring the kids after school to the Jackie Joyner Kersee for training, for sports, for education. So we would take advantage of the Jackie Joyner Kersee Foundation logistics, and we would be here. But at the same time, when you're here, you can literally drive here, and you're on 64. And on 64, you turn left and you're downtown St. Louis.
So is it the 10% of produce for charitable donation that would be used for that? Or is there a way for people who live in those neighborhoods to come and buy directly?
Oh,
Because it sounds like what I'm hearing is
here.
this is still going to Schnucks.
Yeah, no, in this case here, there definitely would be a stand, like farmer's market stand. We would have here, and that stand, for example, would be open an hour and a half in the morning when people take their bus to work, and an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours in the afternoon when the moms bring their kids and pick up their kids of the foundation. In this case, you know where this is? That's the county health center. This is 170. So we can, this is Gate Gourmet. They do the catering for all the airlines in the airport. So we could deliver partly straight to Gate Gourmet. But once we have harvested here and processed, we jump on 170 and within 10, 15 minutes drive, we're in North St. Louis, any place we want in North St. Louis. And then it's a matter of making it known to the people that the truck, the vegetable truck will be there at that time. And then maybe, like in Canada, you pay with a barcode. Other, oh, we're doing fine. Other question? Yes.
What about the people who need food but cannot afford anything?
I hope
Very little,
I hope
or
they will
need
tell us.
food and-
I hope they will tell us. So if there are people that have absolutely no source of income and have no way to access any of our delivery points, we have not found a solution for that, but that is something we would work out. We cannot be selective. We would like to have the capability to recuperate as much as possible from those people. And if they can't pay, well, too bad. And if we hope we can produce enough that the charitable part of our production is substantial enough for that part of the population.
But
And-
that is being considered, that there
Oh.
will be some people.
It is considered,
$2 a ton, whatever.
exactly, it is right now, we estimate that between 10 and 20% of our production. And honestly, it would be the less nice looking strawberry or the less nice looking tomato that goes to that end of the market. So instead of being dumped on the trash heap, we channel it into the charity. But it would be fresh. It is not tomato that have been 1 week on the shelf at Schnucks. It's a fresh tomato picked this morning. It doesn't look very nice, but okay. It is. That's the concept. You had a question?
Well, yeah, because it doesn't really address the food desert, which I consider the fact that these major supermarkets will not put up a store in a less desirable area. So those people do not have the opportunity to walk to Schnucks. They have an opportunity to walk to Quick Trip.
Exactly.
So I don't know how that can be.
Well, that can only be solved. And again, the guy in Calgary solved that problem. He basically, what he did, he identified a very specific population of people that were scattered all over Calgary and that were willing to drive to a location to pick up their fresh vegetables. Now, in the case of Arrowwood here, there is here a Metrolink station. Somewhere here. So it's perfectly conceivable that that little van with a couple of boxes of fresh vegetables drive to a Metrolink location and people pick it up at Metrolink. Or people pick it up at, why not? Gas station. If people go to the gas station now to buy their Cheetos, maybe they're willing to go to that same station to buy fresh apples for their kids. Yes.
Yeah, it seems to me like that should definitely be considered as part of the business plan, because it's a lovely thing to say we're gonna have a stand right by the Jackie Joyner Christie Foundation for a couple hours in the morning and a couple hours in the evening, but how do you and I do our shopping in our place of privilege? We do when it's convenient for us. Sometimes it's Wednesday night at 9 o'clock, sometimes it's,
Exactly.
Sunday at 12. But, so people have different work schedules, they work different shifts, they go to the quick trip because it's open whenever they need it to be.
What you point at is an element that we picked up in one of the focus groups we had with the people in North St. Louis, Old North neighborhood. And we came to the conclusion that since the 1950s, the social aspects of food preparation has changed, not just in the affluent parts, where mom no longer has the whole day at home to do the cooking, but where mom now is part of the economic circuits and has to be efficient in the way she does it. In the deserts or in the urban or rural areas that are not as fortunate as most of us are, all of us, I would say, there is a fundamental issue. Very many families never have cooked. They don't know how to cook because their good kitchen is not equipped. So the only way those people eat is out of a bag or out of a can or warming something up in the microwave. So there's a whole aspect of re-education of families into good eating habits. The Jackie Joyner Kersee Foundation has identified it. And so whereas Jackie Joyner Kersee, with money of all the big companies in St. Louis 20 years ago, started by saying we have to keep the youth of East St. Louis healthy, giving them opportunity for sports after school, giving them opportunity to learn things after school in a safe environment. She has now realized, and she's very strong advocate for that, that re-educating the moms and the dads on what to do to give a healthy menu to the family, that means themselves and their kids. And so Jackie Joyner Kersee Foundation has plans to build a building for light food processing, build a building with a demonstration kitchen, and to build a building for cooking school and cooking demonstration. That is part of her plan. So when we came to her and say, do you have pieces of land where we could build some greenhouses? She was obviously connecting the dots. And so if this aspects, we have a price of this. We know how much this would cost for the land. We literally have an offer on the table from the GJK Foundation. So same thing here. Having Gate Gourmet. Gate Gourmet, when airlines shut down 9/11, and when COVID came and airlines shut down again, Gate Gourmet had to repurpose their business model because there were not enough airline passengers to eat what they prepared. So they started to work on alternative markets. And Gate Gourmet now delivers to several schools in St. Louis. Healthy food to schools, food that they have processed. They have the capability, they have the fridges, they have the ovens. So for Gate Gourmet to deliver it to a Boeing that's on the airline or to a school, they can do that. And so the purpose of ours would be to allow Gate Gourmet to test out new concepts of food new concepts of preparation that would allow to reintroduce in the normal menu of what people eat more healthy elements. So how many fresh vegetables can you hide in mashed potatoes? Literally, okay? That's the kind of thing that they're working on. So with Jackie Joyner Kersee, if this works, we would link that educational aspect. With Gabe Gourmet here, we would link to the downstream processing, the downstream rethinking of how we all eat, not just the people in the desert. And so you may feel my enthusiasm to this project. Yes?
I'm just wondering if you have discussed how this might fit in climate change.
Well, the big thing about this has no heating, has no cooling, has no fans. The only electricity is the motor to open this when it's too hot. So this is extremely efficient from an energy point of view. We're also working at building an underground water capacity so that rainwater can become an additional temperature buffer underground, so that with heat exchangers, we depend even less and have more flexibility. So from a climate change point of view, this is orders of magnitude more efficient than a vertical farm, substantially more efficient than a glass house, and has the capability of producing things without, basically, by keeping this enclosed, we keep insects out. So we don't need to spray insecticides as often. By managing this, we can keep the humidity under control, which limits the diseases. So again, less fungicide spraying, etc. That technically, that has been proven. And that's Nursita in Beijing. They have developed a thing that's about this big. And that thing has ultraviolet light, has sensors, has fans. So depending on the outside conditions, that thing will radiate ultraviolet as a disease and insect control, will kick in the fans to make sure that the air goes up, so that it takes cooler air from the soil and sucks it out so that the whole greenhouse, and so all that automated, all that with sensors, and again, with a windmill on top or some solar panel on the roof that we would not need outside energy. And we do not want to operate at night. At night, the plants need to sleep. We don't want to artificially pump in light at night because it costs money and it disturbs normal cycles of the plant. And you can gain a couple of days. Yes, Amy. Yes.
You just have to wrap it up in 1 minute.
Oh, that's it. So basically, we're the next couple of days, we'll be meeting with, again, Kersee, we'll be meeting, end March, we'll be meeting with the airport. 8th of March, we have a meeting at UMSL. So we hope that within a couple of months, we will have enough to put a stake in the ground, and then we go into the financial, and then we go into offering participation, not on a charitable basis, but on a basis where you invest, and the third year, you start seeing an income stream.
Thank you.
Pleasure.